What is up, fight fans? We got Glove Talk episode 22. Here with my boy Jose.
Hi.
Here to go over the BMF title fight, UFC 291 versus Gaethje and Poirier. That card, and then the upcoming fight night, Sandhagen versus Font. I think it was supposed to be Sandhagen versus Umar.
Yep.
Magomedov, but pulled out of the fight. So they got the Rob Font replacement, which I think that might be even a tougher fight, just because experience that Rob Font has. So. Get into it. Let's go to the early prelims. We had we had the Miranda Maverick beat Priscilla Castreda by submission, using her wrestling in the fight to hold her down most of the fight and to dominate her until that third round. She was able to get that submission. And Priscilla's had the same problem in a lot of her fights where she gets held on the ground and she doesn't really show that much urgency to get up. So she needs to work on her grappling because I know she likes striking. She likes coming forward and being aggressive, but without grappling, you get yourself put in these situations where you lose to somebody like Miranda Maverick, who is not the most well-tuned fighter, but she has her strong suit of wrestling. So
Yeah. I think that the problem for Priscilla Cachoeira was that she was training for a striker in Joanna Wood, and so she wasn't really expecting to grapple that much. Even then, she was still trying to fight a little dirty. Like we all saw the glove grabs and stuff. I will say with Miranda Maverick, this is my one knock on her. She fought a good fight, but she's got to chase a finish harder, especially when I get it. She wanted to beat up Cachoeira, but it wasn't like she was beating her up. She was smothering her, right? Which is fine, but I think if you want to make a statement, right, especially in a short notice fight, you gotta destroy her. It was still a good win. She still did her job. Miranda Maverick, she's shown flashes of potential, right? I still want to see more. Some of it's there. I want to see her clean up her striking a little bit more for sure. And I want her to just be more aggressive on the ground. Her grappling is very good, but I want her to be more aggressive with the ground and pound, with looking for finishes. But it was also the only women's fight on the card, surprisingly. But yeah, good one for Miranda Maverick. She keeps building her name up. She's definitely one of those kind of in like a Macy Barber situation from a few years ago. Just kind of they're pushing her, right? They want her to get to the top. Who knows? Who knows what's next for Miranda Maverick, right?
and then next fight we had Matthew Semmelsberger and Uros Medic. Medic was able to weather the storm from Matthew Semmelsberger early on. I think he got hurt early on in the first round. He was able to come in round 3 and be able to get the finish and able to hit, beat a guy like Matthew Semmelsberger, who's explosive, who's well-rounded. I wouldn't say he's super elite in any area. I think he's explosive and his athleticism is what his top thing is. But Udus Medic is a guy who's known to be a striker, and I like the way he fights. A good finish from this guy.
Yeah, I put something on Threads. I was live threading yesterday during the fights on the Glove Talk page. I need to apologize to Uros Medic because I said he needed to finish it early because Semmelsberger's made more for a war. I need to apologize because Semmelsberger, man, he had a couple moments. So in the first round when he knocked down Medic, his corner told him stand him up, right? And he kept staying on the ground, and Medic caught him with an up kick, right, and knocked him down. And you saw the rest of the fight leading up to the finish. He was not listening to his corner, right? He got himself in the pocket. He was fighting in the pocket, but it wasn't like he was. If he would have gotten closer, he would have gotten effective offense off of Medic. But he was fighting at distance, where Medic was able to use his kicks, right, and use his range to close the distance to get his strikes. I think Semmelsberger, man, the talent's there, but brother, you gotta listen to your corner, man. That's my knock with a lot of these fighters. They don't listen to their coaches, right? And they make bonehead moves. They get him in a position like this. Like Uros Medic is no joke. The guy trains with Beneil Dariush. He trains at King's MMA. He's very, very good. He moved up to welterweight now. He looks a lot better at welterweight, for being honest, other than the first round. And that spinning back elbow, man, it reminded me of Yuri against Dominic Reyes, right? Really good finish for Uros Medic. Interested to see his future at welterweight, man. He's very, very good. But it's interesting. At a new weight class, what can he do, right? Oh, okay, shirt's off. Yes, sir.
Hot, bro. My bad. I live in South Florida. It was hot, bro.
All right, we got the light skinned Luke Rockhold on the podcast now. I see.
Yeah, I wish I looked like Luke Rocco.
I bet you wish you dated Demi Lovato too, right? Anyways,
Who? Them they?
no, Luke Rockhold and Demi Lovato, man.
Yeah, Demi Lovato. Them they. I think she a them they now.
No, she went back. She went back. She
Oh,
went
you can
back.
go back. Oh, you can go back.
Yeah. She
I
went.
thought you were. I thought you were born that way.
No. She went back. It's just after Luke Rockhold and her broke up, she went on crack. So she
I
know what
thought
she's.
you were. I thought you were born that way. I didn't know you get to pick. Oh, it is what it is.
Listen, bro. I was born fat, and I'm not fat anymore. So there you go. There's your evidence. Anyway,
Sure.
hey, the hoodie's hiding the gains, y'all. I'll be shirtless one of these weeks too. I got you.
Even that is debatable, though. You probably still fat.
Come on now, brother. Hold up. Come on now, brother. What is this? What is this? It's going down. It's going down.
Yeah, let's look at the body percentage, fat percentage, muscle percentage. You got like,
I'm working on it. I'm getting better every day. I'm paying back for all the years of eating absolute horrible food and not working out by not masturbating, working out every day, and eating protein and rice. All right, be an adult, grow up. We're not 16 anymore. Let's go on to the next fight.
we had the Aussie Jake Matthews, able to get a submission win in round two over Darius Flowers. He had him hurt even, or he faked getting hurt in the fight.
Yeah.
He might have actually been hurt. A lot of guys, when they fake getting hurt, they actually get hurt, but it's not to where they're actually hurt, but they want to, try to set up a shot, get back shot right away. But, Jake Matthews is a guy we like on the podcast, a guy we support, another Aussie guy who just brings it every fight. Well-rounded fighter, explosive striking, and, he can get the grappling done too. You can get some submissions, which shows in this fight right here. And I think he was just better everywhere in this fight.
Yeah, I think you said it best at the end right there. He was better everywhere. Darius Flowers though had his moments, but I don't know what's up with him, man. Like the guy's strong, the guy you can tell could strike, but he was like super hesitant at moments, right? And letting Jake Matthews land the cleaner strikes, the harder strikes. But let's be honest, that was a cup tap. That was not a cup shot. That was a cup tap, right? And it wasn't intentional. He hit the body first, and the back heel tapped the cup, right? I was not a fan of that stopping the fight, and Darius over there crying like, "Come on now, brother." And then the finish, Jake Matthews did a great job getting the back, getting the rear naked choke. Very, very good fight from Jake Matthews, and I'm happy. He looks in a lot better shape than he has in his last fight. He looked a lot more confident. He looked a lot more comfortable in there. And I think Jake Matthews, man, him piecing it all together is a dangerous proposition for welterweights, right? I think guys like him, Jack Della Maddalena, that are coming up that fight with that Islander style, that pitbull kind of style, bro. It's scary. It's scary to see these guys coming up, right? If they can piece it all together. And Jake Matthews, man, listen, he comes from good crop down there. He trains with a lot of killers down there. And he looked like one. The body kicks, man. Oh my gosh, those body kicks, the front push ones were disgusting. Yeah, Jake Matthews, man, give him a ranked fight. Give him a ranked fight. I've always been high on Jake Matthews. It's just when guys get pushed really quickly, sometimes it's too much for them. I think finally he's starting to get used to the pressure. He looked good. He looked really good.
Yeah, and I think Jake Matthews, he brings us a lot of similarities to like a guy like Matthew Semmelsberger, but he seems a little bit more disciplined. He seems more dive deep into mixed martial arts as a whole. So and he probably listens to his coaches better.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the next fight, we had Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. He's able to get the first head kick knockout of the card. Another one will come later on, but the kick was nasty, man. This guy's a great striker, which is weird because he's Russian. Usually, they're known for their wrestling, but it's a guy who's got good striking as well. So I like Roman Kopylov, and Claudio Ribeiro ain't no joke either. He's a tough guy. He's kind of big for middleweight, so to be able to knock him out like that says a lot.
Yeah, Ribeiro. I called it out when I was watching the fight at B-Dubs. I called it out because Ribeiro had Kopylov very hurt at the end of the first, and with about 10 seconds left in the first round, he goes for a takedown instead of trying to go for the finish. And that right there showed me more than enough of what was coming the next round. I called it. People can vouch. I called my shot. I said Kopolov's knocking him out next round. Because Ribeiro shot for the takedown because he was gassed trying to go for the finish, which I think he should have the last 10 seconds, right? Because that would have put Kopolov out. Kopolov was this close, right? He goes back to the corner. He's gassed. The next round, you see Kopolov is just waiting for Ribeiro's arms to kind of go down, right? Kind of like what Pereira was doing with Jan. If you see a guy gas, wait till their arms kind of start dropping. They can't really hold their guard up. And then that left hook Ribeiro threw was so bad. You can tell he was so gassed. He was nowhere near Kopolov. Boom, gets caught with the roundhouse kick and goes out, man. Kopolov, I'm high on him. I like the way he fights. I think he's a little bit slow for the weight class, but he's very good technically, and he kind of makes up for that. So he's not the most athletic guy. And for Ribeiro, man, he kind of reminds you of like Michelle Pajeda, right? Who we're not a fan of the show anymore, bro. Make weight, idiot. Ribeiro, man, like he's just super athletic, but bro, he fights with like no IQ. Like it's tough, man. These Brazilian guys are so athletic, man. But some of them, like, there's just this trend of they make bonehead decisions and they get gassed, and then this happens, right? We saw Michelle Pajeda as well, but good win for Roman Kopolov, man. Middleweight, listen, a lot of good welterweight and middleweights had a very good night tonight, right? In terms of what's up next for that division. But Roman Kopolov, man, very good win, moves to 11-2, man. Definitely an interesting guy to look at moving forward.
Yeah, and then next fight we had CJ Vergara able to get the decision win over Vinicius Salvador. Vinicius Salvador is a guy we was just talking about a couple months ago. The guy known for that haircut, and he had a good showing in the UFC. But for CJ Vergara here, able to get the win, he shows a lot because this was a stand-up fight. It was a primarily striking fight. I think the first round was pretty 50-50, but I think CJ Vergara, in my book, was able to weed ahead in the second and third round. So, I'm with the decision here. And flyweight fight, which we talk about all the time, how flyweights, these guys are technical. You guys know how to throw hands. You guys know how to strike, and this was a very technical fight.
Yeah, Vinicius Salvador, man, I don't understand him. You're so tall, you're so long, the technique is there, and he just fights.
Vergara just got that pace.
Vergara's got the pace, and Salvador kind of tries to fight like it's capoeira, and it's not capoeira, bro. This is MMA. Like you gotta be grounded in your technique. You can't just like flow state everything the whole fight. And I think Vinicius Salvador, like athletically, like physically speaking, he should be dominating every other featherweight. I mean flyweight, right? But I don't know. He just tries to do too much. Whereas like CJ Vergara, yes, there was times he was hitting CJ Vergara, but Vergara was also staying true to his fundamentals, right? He was working off his jab. He was working, with the hooks. He was working the legs as well with the leg kicks, right? He was just staying very fundamental in the way he fought, and I think that's something that when you look at mixed martial arts, yes, some of the wild guys get some of the clicks and stuff, right, on Instagram and the real views, right? But it's those guys that are technically sound that end up making it to the top of the sport, right? And end up winning. Because they're now everybody, we're 30 years into mixed martial arts. For so many years, everybody tried all the wild stuff, the innovative stuff, right? Whether it was ground and pound or jiu-jitsu or whatever. I think now you see the way MMA works, there's so many guys dominating just by doing the basics, right? Because nobody wants to do the basics anymore. Everybody wants to be wild. Everybody wants to be flashy, right? I think this was one of those fights. CJ Vergara proved in the last fight, right? When he almost got finished and came back. The basics, if you're technically gifted, the basics do win you fights, right? So good win for CJ Vergara. He's got two straight big wins on pay-per-views now. Well, no, last one was on a fight night, but it was still a good win. Like I like CJ Vergara a lot. And again, another
last fight, he came back from being hurt really bad, so he's more tested than Vinicius is.
Yeah, listen, another technical flyweight. I will not complain about that, brother. I'm very, very good win for him.
Yeah, the next fight we had, the brother, Gabriel Bonfim. We like his I think it's his younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Or his older brother. I don't know which one's older, but we like his brother as well on the podcast. Being able to get the submission win over Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles is a game opponent guy who usually comes to fight, but this just shows how good Gabriel Bonfim is on the ground. He locked up that guillotine as soon as he saw it, and he just snatched the neck and he locked it in right away. It seemed like he set it up a little bit. It seemed like it was like pre rehearsed. So
Yeah, I was explaining to people when I was watching the fight, like that was risky. But I like it when guys do take risks like that, where he jumped the guillotine, right? He jumped the neck, but he made sure his legs were wrapped behind him.
yeah,
So
but and that was also like a scramble position. Usually people try to
yeah,
stop getting taken down with the guillotine, which I think is usually kind of doesn't really work that much unless you're really good at it. But
yeah,
that was like more of a scramble position where he was already in, position, and then they were scrambling, and he got up and then he set it up.
yeah,
So
and he did a very good job locking in the guillotine. Very, very good the technique, right? Got the arm in, locked his hands up, and for Trevin Giles, like the fight was done as soon as that happens, right? When you get a guillotine in tight, unless you're Alexander Volkanovski, it's pretty rare you're gonna get out of that. So very good win for Gabriel Bonfim, man. He keeps impressing at 25 years old. This guy, he looks like the future, bro. I'm being honest. And at welterweight, it's an interesting division. You can make a lot of interesting matchups with him. Um, at 25, sky's the limit. He's got all the time in the world, right, to work with, and he's only getting better. He's already very good, but you can see he's getting better every single fight. Trains with his brother Ismael, who is very good as well, as we've talked about. And Trevin Giles is no joke to beat. You beat a guy that was 16-4 coming into the fight. Like, listen, Gabriel Bonfim, man, we might have to look at a ranked fight at welterweight with him. You
yeah, I
know?
would just say work on the striking a little bit. Striking seemed a little jittery off the rip. It seemed like he's a little bit too eager to put his hands on the guy early on the fight. Um, but other than that, he looked good. So going into the main card, we had Michael Chiesa getting Darce choked by Kevin Holland, which is kind of a weird thing because most people thought that Michael Chiesa, the only chance to win would probably be a submission here. But Kevin Holland, he just made him look like he didn't want to be back fighting again. Chiesa looked like he didn't like getting hit from the first punch. He seemed like he was too jittery and he didn't want to get touched again by Kevin Holland. And Kevin Holland seems to do that to people. I mean, I don't know what it is about this guy, but his power seems to be a little different. To be able to knock a guy like Jacare Souza out from your knees at middleweight, and then you're fighting at welterweight now. Yeah, this guy's dangerous, and I like him. I like him more at welterweight. I know he was talking about afterwards going back to middleweight, but I think welterweight and even light man, he could fight lightweight probably with his frame. This guy is just dominant those lighter weight classes. So, and this is a good win. Mike Chiesa retired.
I think for Kevin Holland, middleweight would be a problem. Like we've seen him before. I think welterweight is his perfect weight. I think he needs to make up his mind about a weight class, right? If he wants to move up in the rankings, right? But one thing with Kevin Holland that I put on threads, people forget Kevin Holland is a high degree black belt. He got his black belt from Travis Luter. The guy has won Eddie Bravo invitationals. Kevin Holland, yeah, karate and I think no karate kung fu, right, is his main striking style. But Kevin Holland's no joke when it comes to jiu-jitsu. The problem with Kevin Holland is he did you
Wrestling.
see him kind of talk about how he's maturing, getting his stuff together, right? I think that's been the only problem with Kevin Holland is getting this synced up with the rest of what he's got going on. Because the talent's there, he can strike. He kind of reminds me of Dubronx in a way, where with Dubronx for a long time, you could see the flashes. Dubronx was fighting at featherweight, fighting at lightweight, kind of going up and down, and you could see that Dubronx had terrific striking, had good grappling, right? But whether it was the motivation or just something mentally was not there. And I'm not saying this Chiesa fight is it. I hope it is for Kevin Holland, but now we've seen a knockout and a submission back to back, right? And you kind of saw with Dubronx. When Dubronx finally put it together, and hopefully you see with Kevin Holland, right? It's like it clicks in a way where these guys are so big, so long, and so talented for the weight class they fight at, where it's tough to fight a guy that has all the tools available to him. And Kevin Holland does. Kevin Holland can kick. Kevin Holland can strike. Kevin Holland has great footwork. He has good jiu-jitsu, right? And for Michael Chiesa, man, let's be honest, he did not want to be there. Like you said, he did not want to be there. He looked so rusty. He kind of looked like Tony in a way. Like he just looked like he did not want to be there, bro. I think Chiesa's done after this. He's got a good commentary job with the UFC. There's no reason to keep fighting, bro. You've had a good career. You gave some good fights, but that was brutal to watch, man. Not as bad as the next fight in terms of like brutal to watch a guy go out like that, but still, Michael
I think it was
Chiesa,
worse.
man.
It was definitely worse than the Ferguson fight because the problem, and we can get into it right now, because Bobby Green ends up, submitting Tony Ferguson here. But I think the problem with Tony Ferguson is his tools. Like he just kept the same tools that got him the 12 fight win streak, and he didn't add any tools. Mixed martial arts is a completely different. The way you got to fight now is a little different. And he just, you try to bring the same stuff, and everybody's watched all the film. They know all the awkward things he throws, and he's not really switched it up that much. But his cardio is just crazy, so he can just keep going forward and take the punches. So Bobby Green in this fight, he got caught in the first round. He almost, Tony almost got him. He almost got it done. But besides that, I think Bobby Green was pretty safe. He played some vicious ground and pound multiple times. He was good on the feet. And then he ended up getting that submission in at the end, head and arm choke, my favorite submission. So,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think
I think yes, it was way worse than Ferguson. Ferguson looked. I mean, he actually hurt the guy, and he actually looked like he wanted to be there. It just looks like he just doesn't have the tools to. His attack isn't the right approach.
I agree with that. The reason I say Tony's worse is because to see Tony rise up from tough to being basically the de facto lightweight champion of the world, right? And missing 4 Habib fights to the fall of Tony Ferguson, the last 6 fights, it reminds me of when BJ Penn kept fighting when he was passing. BJ ended up losing, I think it was 8 straight, something like that. Um, it's tough because you love these guys. They're fan favorites. They're pioneers of the sport. They're some of the greatest guys to walk into the octagon. So Tony Ferguson and BJ Penn, right? But like when I knew this fight, when I knew it was done, when Tony went for that Inanari roll and didn't get it. That's one of those moves where even if Tony doesn't get it, he usually springs right back up, right, on his feet. Dude, he looked lost on the ground. To see Tony Ferguson, who has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, trains with Eddie Bravo, who's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys we've seen at lightweight ever. For him to look lost on the ground against Bobby Green of all people, that's when I knew. I'm like, dude,
I mean,
it was
but
brutal.
jiu-jitsu doesn't have punches, so
But that's the thing though. Like Tony was always that guy. Like, and on the feet, it looked brutal too because Bobby Green, like Tony was doing a spinning back elbow, but he like walked through it. He didn't even like fully throw it. He tried to go for knee bars that weren't there. Like Tony Ferguson, man, the last 6 fights have been brutal, right? And we can go through every single one because we've all seen them, right? Gaethje destroyed him. Gaethje put one of the worst
well,
beatings I've.
I rewatched the Gaethje fight. He didn't get destroyed by Gaethje until the last couple of rounds. It was actually
Yeah,
good.
no, true, but that's the thing. Those last couple of rounds are some of the probably one of the worst beatings I've seen somebody take in the UFC. Right? Because Gaethje set it up the first, the first round and a little bit of the second round. But then when we started pouring it on, Tony was like, I don't know how he kept standing up, right? Oliveira and Dariush, right? He got annihilated by Oliveira. He had his moments in the Dariush fight, and then Dariush just bulldozed him. Nate Diaz, man, come on. Like that was bad. I think that one was bad because you had a guy in Nate who really doesn't care at this point. Just outstrike him and then choke him, right? And then now you got this, man. It's tough. It's tough for Tony. I think it's the end. I honestly think it's the end for Tony Ferguson, and it sucks to say that. Um, but there's no way back. There is no way back for him now. And for Bobby Green, man, he got the win. A lot of people were hyping it up on Twitter and X now. Yeah, X. Uh, but they need to stop. They need to stop because Bobby Green, yeah, he fought a good fight, but bro, it doesn't mean anything for Bobby Green if we're being honest. Like, so yeah, Bobby Green, good win for him. That choke at the end when Tony was going to sleep, seeing Tony Ferguson go to sleep is when you know that it's time. It's time. And the fact that Tony didn't retire after the fight worries me because man's got DUI charges lately, restraining orders, all this stuff, losing fights. Like even just on a personal level, I just want to see Tony stop fighting, man. Like I think it's time. Yeah, I think it's time for Tony Ferguson. It sucks. I love El Kukui, man, but it is what it is.
And then in the next fight, we had a fighter we usually talk shit about. We're tired of him getting these headlining events, but showed himself in this fight. Derek Lewis, came out against Marcus De Lima, came out with a flying knee, caught him, and then able to finish him with a TKO ground and pound. Whenever you have a guy like Derek Lewis above you like that, especially Derek Lewis himself with some ground and pound, it's probably the end of the fight because that's where he thrives at. So that game plan to come out and just throw weight at him, he really just threw weight at him to get him to fall over on the ground and get on top of him and to do the ground pound. This is a good game plan. He could probably do that every single fight. Just run at the guy, tackle him, and throw some ground and pound and finish the fight.
No,
But, they got the abs, Derek Lewis. If he can
that's a
show that
mythical
he's
fighter, six
improving his
pack
health,
Lewis.
yeah, six pack Lewis. If he shows that, hey, he's gonna show more of this. Hey, why not give him some more
Right.
fights? He was looking like he was on his way out. PFL might try to sign him because they might try to do that rematch versus Edmund Francis because that's the only thing they could sell. That's literally the only thing they could sell. Like a guy who's got to win over Francis, like that's the only thing they probably could sell. But besides that, I think he comes back to the UFC. But if PFL throws a bag at him, they might pick him up.
Yeah. Oh, listen, man. Derek Lewis, yesterday's price is not today's price after that performance, man. Like, I wrote off Derek Lewis, and then I saw the weigh-in, and I put on threads. I need to apologize to the man. Bro, like, the thing with Derek Lewis, people don't realize is he's super athletic. He's just always been kind of lazy in the octagon. Like, the man can kickbox. The man is very athletic. And to see him finally get in better shape for this fight, right? He didn't struggle to make the weight. He looked in a lot better shape muscle wise as well. Bro, like you said, like a lot of people were talking about the knee. I made the point you made when people were watching it. I'm like, y'all do realize that he just threw his weight at him. I'm not saying the knee didn't land, but when you have a guy at rehydrating to about 275, right? Throw 275 pounds at you, it don't matter how big you are, bro. You're probably falling over. And then to get his back on the ground and just destroy him. Like Derek Lewis, the celebration was great too. Everybody's talking about that. The post fight interview was great. I think regardless, it's tough. I'm looking at the rankings now at heavyweight. There is almost no fights to make for Derek Lewis at heavyweight in the UFC, right? I'm not saying they won't re-sign him, but PFL is going to throw a very good offer at him to try to make that Ngannou fight. And Ngannou said minimum $2 million, right, to fight him. So minimum $2 million is what Derek Lewis is going to get offered, right, for one fight in PFL against Francis Ngannou.
He likes some cars.
Exactly, and I think it's tough. The UFC has almost no sell because Derek Lewis has been around so long. He's basically fought every single guy, right, in the top 15 at heavyweight. I love Derek. I would like to see more of him, but I don't think the UFC is the best place for him to do it. I think he goes to PFL after this. Make your couple million, right? Go fight Francis. Give us a better fight than the last fight, right? Which is one of the most boring fights in UFC history. And make your money, right? He's going to make at least 7 figures of that fight, not counting bonuses, not counting everything. If this is the end for Derek Lewis in the UFC, no better way to send yourself off, if I'm being honest, right? And for Rogerio de Lima, man, a guy that I was high on, right, for a long time. Yeah, brother, go back to the drawing board. Go back to the drawing board, brother. That was not good. That was not good at all. But yeah, good one for Derek Lewis, man. Before we go to the next fight, there's a fight that got canceled. Michelle Pereira, Wonderboy Thompson, right? Pereira missed 3 pounds by 3 pounds. Wonderboy Thompson didn't get paid his show money for making weight.
I mean, I wouldn't pay him either. The guy missed 3 pounds. Like, fight the guy still. The fuck you.
Nope. I agree with Wonderboy, and I'm gonna tell you why.
I'm still fighting that fight, bro. 3 pounds is not that much.
No, but here's the thing. He
Kickboxing
rehydrates.
fight. They're not grappling.
He rehydrates to a higher weight, and the last time that Wonderboy fought a guy that missed weight was Darren Till, who missed weight before their fight and rehydrated to much higher weight than Wonderboy did because of it, and then Darren Till got a title shot out of that fight, right? I'm not saying Pereira was gonna get that, but I understand where Wonderboy's coming from. You've been screwed over once fighting a guy that missed weight, and Darren Till, who had no business being at 170, if we're being honest. Michelle Pereira can't make 170. Like, I'm sorry, Michelle Pereira is coming off a fight win streak. You're getting a big spot on the main card of a pay-per-view. Make the weight, bro. If you can't make the weight,
yeah, make the weight, but I'm not gonna pay this guy when he could have easily fought the guy. Honestly, You
Wonder
really
Boy
care
did,
about the guy.
but it was show money. Wonder Boy showed up and did his job making weight. There's no reason the UFC or any of the commissions should bully or coerce a fighter into taking a fight with a guy that didn't make weight. I did my job. They didn't. You know,
Yeah,
a
but
guy
I'm not
like
gonna
one.
pay you if you're not gonna fight him. It's a kickboxing fight, and he
Yeah,
missed 3 pounds.
but every single time this happened, the precedent has been you still pay the guy show money because you have show money and win money. You pay the guy show money for making weight because they showed up, they made the weight. Same thing with the backup fighters in championship fights, right? They don't even fight. They get paid. They get paid for weighing in at 155 or whatever for a fight they're not even fighting it. They get show money, right? So I don't know. I think it's a bad precedent.
I
It's
mean,
a
I'm sure
bad
they
look.
offered him more money to do the fight still, and he probably said no still. So, I mean, it's
Yeah,
probably,
because they wanna save the card in the fights. I get that. I get why Wonder Boy doesn't take it. He's 40 years old. He feels like he can still fight his way up the rankings. He
that's why
wants
he
to be.
should have took the fight because he's 40 years old. You don't have time to be wasting, bro, to do a whole other camp. Should
And
have
that's
taken the
the
fight.
other
It's an
point.
easy win for him too.
Yeah, you make a good point as well. I don't know. I think they might try to rebook this fight. Personally, I wouldn't. I'd just move on from it. I don't know. I'm not Michelle Pajeda, man. Though she's an idiot after that. But anyway, yeah. Now on to the next fight.
Going to the co-main, it didn't really suffice to what I thought it would, but we had Alex Pereira getting a split decision win over Jan Blachowicz. Jan came out in the first round with the same approach he kind of had for Izzy, which he kind of, held him against the cage and grappled him. And then Alex Pereira had a better second round where he had him hurt. Was kind of got it finished there. And then third round, Pereira started off good, and then Jan got a takedown in the last minute, but didn't do no damage. So that's where he thinks he got robbed. But in my opinion, just because you get a takedown and you lay on a guy the last minute and he beating you the first 4 minutes of the round, more damage, you don't get the round. So
Yep.
I'll agree with this decision here. I think Alex Pereira won. But this just shows how matchups make fights because you look at Alex Pereira versus Adesanya, he looks like the world beater, and then you look at him in this fight, he looks a little,
Yeah.
sloppy, lackadaisical. It seems like he doesn't even, I don't know, it seemed like a completely different fighter. But it is a bigger weight class, more weight, but at the same time, should be more energized, you're more hydrated as well. So this just shows how matchups make fights. But, good one for Alex Pereira. Now they need to do that Yuri versus Alex Pereira. Sorry, Uncle Liev. You know, you're out here still being butthurt on the side, not taking any fights. So we're gonna give it to Alex Pereira because that's gonna be a crazy fight, and we want to see it.
Right. I think the problem with Pereira, I saw this fight. It looks like the knockout that Izzy had on him in the last fight is living in his head because there was moments he had Jan trapped up against the cage, right? And instead of going in with strikes, he was very cautious, which I understand. He wants to be cautious. He wants to win the fight. He wants to get that title shot. But that's not a good look, right, on his part because you can tell he was fighting timid. Pereira could have gone way more wild if he wanted to, right? And probably won that fight. Jan was done, was gassed. And this is why Jan was gassed. Yes, the altitude, but I was talking to my friends who do jiu-jitsu as well, and I was explaining to people, right, because they were talking about, Jan had, some guy tried to argue with me at B-Dubs, the manager there was like, control over damage. And I explained to him, I'm like, Jan, that position when he had Alex's back with the body lock, Jan is the one getting more tired than Alex. Because to hold a body lock while sitting up, you're not even flattened out. You're sitting up, right? You're holding a body lock, and you're going for the choke with all your strength. Bro, Jan Blachowicz was so gassed by the end of the first round. Like, Pereira got up like it was nothing. And Jan, you saw him, like, he put his hands up over his head. He was tired because it kind of reminds me of Aljo versus Piotr Jan, right? Aljo held Piotr Jan's back and did nothing with it and looked gassed in the last 2 rounds, right, of that fight. Or last 3 rounds. I'm correct myself. But that's the issue. Like, yes, Jan had control. Yes, Jan got the takedowns, right? But he did absolutely nothing with it. And people were like, he went for the submission. I'm like, cool, he didn't get it. If you don't get the submission, it doesn't matter if you attempted it. Yeah, it's a stat, submission attempt, but I can't score a submission attempt. You didn't finish it, right? So, and Pereira did a good job defending the choke, like fighting the hands, fighting the body lock, getting Jan to his side. And on the feet, like, Jan was hitting him with the blitzes, right? They weren't hard shots. They were just kind of like left, right hooks, get out type of thing. Like, Pereira looked like the better striker on the feet. Pereira's leg kicks were doing more damage, in my opinion, as well than Jan's. You could tell they had a bit more weight to it. I don't know, man. Like Jan Blachowicz, he's 40, right? He's 40 years old. The cardio's probably starting to go a little bit. You can tell the power is not really all there either as much. It is what it is. Like, yes, it wasn't the fight that we wanted in terms of we were expecting knockouts. We were expecting, back and forth. It was lackluster, but I agree with you. You have to give Pereira the next fight against Yuri because the Yuri fight's going to be a lot better than this. That's number one. And number two, bro, I don't want to see Ankalaev fight for a title. I don't. After what he did against Jan, I don't. I don't want to see that, right? And so, good win for Alex Pereira. He did I say good win because he did what he had to do. He did what he had to do. He played it safe. I think against Yuri for the belt, he definitely fights a lot more aggressive, right? Out of necessity,
Yeah.
because against
And if he
Yuri,
wins that fight, you get that Izzy rematch at 205. I know he said
exactly.
he wants it at 185, but I'm like, shit, the UFC wants it at 205 probably.
Yep. And then let's say Jamal comes back a year later and Alex is still a champ. That's a great matchup with Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira, right? I had a guy at Beat Up try to tell me like, oh, you see the way Jamal strikes, he would kill Alex. I'm like, it'd be a good fight. You can't say one would kill the other though. They both fight in such different ways. I think it'd be a great matchup though. Same thing with the Yuri fight. Yuri strikes in a different way than Alex. I think Alex has the power advantage. But it's an interesting fight. It's a lot more interesting than this. Everybody knew going into the fight Jan was going to shoot for takedowns, right? Which I was fine with. But then Jan did absolutely nothing with the takedowns. Didn't really land anything on the ground. You got to score it this way. I think they scored it right. 2-1 for Alex Pereira. Anybody that argues differently, I had to pull out the unified rules last night for some people. Like, hey, control does not mean it's effective. Effective striking and effective grappling means you're getting in positions to damage people, right? So, yeah, Alex Pereira, this is probably the worst fight in the card, if we're being honest. This is probably the worst fight in the card, other than the Miranda Maverick fight. But the main event made up for it. I can't wait to get into this fight.
And the main event we had, the fight everybody was here for, the BMF title fight. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. Justin Gaethje was able to get the head kick knocked out in round 2. After Dustin, looked like he was going to win round 1. He had Justin hurt. Sorry, I'm over here saying Dustin. Dustin had Justin hurt in round 1. Justin just showed his maturity now. Old Justin, after he got hurt, would have been turning into a brawl. He would have said, "Okay, let's go. Let's get in the pocket and let's use more man." But this fight, he's able to stay away, which is kind of Poirier's wronging because he kind of was slow after he got him hurt. When she could have put it on him a little bit, maybe to see if he could have got him out there. But Gaethje, backed up. He took more of a slow approach in this fight. He still had the leg kicks, but he wasn't getting hit as much after throwing leg kicks. In the first fight, I rewatched it. Dustin was kind of like timing his leg kicks and would hit him with that left, timing him off the leg kicks, which that's what he ended up finishing him with in the first fight. But second fight, Justin was really not there for much. Besides, the couple times the time he did get hurt. So it shows that Gaethje got better in the last couple of years.
Dude, every time Justin hit a leg kick last night, I winced. And everybody just looked at me and I'm like, y'all don't understand. Justin
Every
Gaethje.
time Dustin do that body kick, I winced because I was like,
Yep.
Dustin's time about to catch
Yep.
Justin, bro. I was like,
Yep.
he's about to catch him dipping because Justin
And,
was dipping a lot.
and people don't understand those kicks, man. Dustin's body kick and Justin's leg kick, right? I always said if I get rich enough and I get famous enough for fantasy football, I want the forfeit to be 3 leg kicks from Justin Gaethje. Because people don't understand that. Yeah, see what I mean? That man, when he was hitting those leg kicks, I'm like, Dustin's got to get a poker face, right? We know in the Octagon, Dustin doesn't really show much emotion. But, bro, you could tell Dustin was moving a little different, right, after those leg kicks. Because Justin Gaethje, man, he has no tell on his kicks. Even the roundhouse kick, he has no tell on his kicks. But he's got so much power in his legs, man. That the final shot was set up perfect, right? He got his head off the center line with the straight. Boom, hits the kick, knocks out Dustin Poirier. And listen, Dustin Poirier, this isn't an L in his book. He got his money, his legacy's still secure, right? His career always will be a legend, right? He's got his business interests outside the Octagon. Like Dustin Poirier, this is a win, right? This is a win. Another highlight reel, even though you lost, you got your money, bro. You got your family. This is great. And for Justin, this is even better. You know why? Because the biggest loser in this fight didn't even fight in this fight. And his name is Michael Chandler, bro. Because now, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm calling this right now. Because Oliveira and Makhachev are booked, the UFC is going to push so hard for that Conor Gaethje fight.
No, it's not going to happen.
I think it will. And I'm going to tell you why. And it makes sense for everybody. Justin gets the big money fight because he doesn't want to wait and sit out for the title fight, right? He gets his biggest payday of his career. For Conor, it makes sense. If Conor beats Chandler, there's less of a case for a title fight than if he beats Gaethje. And I'm not saying he beats Gaethje, but
They're not going to do that.
both these guys get the bag. Both these guys, if they win, automatic title shot, and it makes sense, right? The way welterweight works, with Beneil losing, with Dustin losing now, the clear cut is Justin Gaethje next, right? And Conor, because of who Conor is, beating a guy like Justin Gaethje automatically elevates him to, number one contender. For Michael Chandler, man, bro, this is why you don't do the Ultimate Fighter without signing the fight agreement first. You don't. You don't. I feel bad for Michael Chandler because what do you do? What does Michael Chandler do at this point, right? Does he still wait for the Conor fight? Does he try to fight Beneil maybe? Like, what do you... It's tough. It's tough. Now Fiziev got booked against Mateusz Gamrot. You got guys fighting at lightweight that are overtaking Michael Chandler at this point, right? For Justin Gaethje, though, man, listen, he has all his balls in his court, right? This man can wait out for Makhachev Oliveira, has every right to fight either guy.
He's going to wait out. He already has the title shot, bro. He's going to wait.
He already has a title shot, but do you risk it for the money? I think Justin Gaethje would be willing to do that for the right price. Because you're talking about
so. He's not going to fight a guy who takes steroids.
Yeah.
He doesn't even like Conor like that. He hates Conor. So I literally am 100% sure he's waiting for the title shot. I literally have no doubt in my mind.
Listen, man, I've seen crazier things happen in the sport, but we'll see. Either way, I had a lot of hype behind this card, but as we were finishing this up, I'm going to have to give this a 7 out of 10. It was still good. It was not as great as I thought it was going to be, though.
Yeah, I'd say it was like a 6.
Yeah. Still good. Still really good.
And I think that does it for that card. We could talk about the Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford took on a virtuoso, getting like 5 knockdowns in the fight, only losing like round 1, I think. And that's, that fight is just a fill-out round anyway. So, Terrence Crawford just showed how good he was. His defense won him the fight, bro. He was not there for anything, and his counters are just, top tier factor. He seemed like, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of like, Floyd versus Canelo, where, you got this guy, everybody thinks, it's a powerhouse, and you go against the real OG, real guy, real technical guy, and he just makes you look goofy in that fight. And he made Errol Spence look goofy, and Errol Spence said he's going to activate the automatic rematch clause.
Yeah,
so let's see if he wants to get made look goofy for 2 fights.
Bro, like Terrence Crawford. Here's some of the names Terrence Crawford has beat in his career, right? He won the WBO lightweight title, right? Against Ricky Burns. He retained it against the undefeated Olympic gold medalist in Yuriorkis Gamboa, right? Who was no joke. And after that, bro, Victor Postal, John Molina Jr., right? Jeff Horn, Jose Benavidez Jr., Amir Khan, Kavaliuskas, Kell Brook, Sean Porter, David Evanesian, and now Errol Spence Jr. Bro, Terrence Crawford. Guys have been ducking Terrence Crawford for years, including Errol Spence, who's an Al Heyman guy, right? Al Heyman protected Errol Spence with all his heart and soul. You saw it in the last fight, and even in the Sean Porter fight, right? Errol Spence has his moments where he looks beatable. Yordenis Ugas had Errol Spence hurt. If he doesn't break his eye socket, he probably wins that fight.
I mean, here's the thing with the car crash, he hasn't been the same guy.
Right, bro, but even then, like, other than the Mikey Garcia fight, which Mikey's a guy that Terrence Crawford beat in the amateurs, like, bro, Terrence Crawford, like, last night when we were watching, like, everybody talks about Errol Spence being like the Terminator, right, at that weight class, because he's so big. Bro, he couldn't move Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford's just sitting there, right? As Spence is trying to create space, he can't even push him off, right? And then The counters so stiff, man. Every single counter was stiff. Terrence Crawford, man, people need to put some respect on his name. I think him and Marvin Hagler are two of the most disrespected champions of all time, right? And it's because guys ducked them. It's because guys um, knew that these guys, yeah, he fought with Top Rank and stuff, but bro, he fights anybody, anywhere. Undisputed welterweight champion now. I like the era boxing's going into with all these undisputed champions coming up. Uh, Listen, man, that rematch, if they do it, I don't expect anything different, if I'm being honest.
I don't really want to see the fight. I don't really think it has that much appeal, but hey, it is what it is.
The rematch reminds me of like a Devin Haney Kambosos too. It's gonna be the same thing over again. Listen, now Devin Haney moved up a weight class, right? To duck his defenses now and stuff. And so this is boxing's in it.
The only other fight I want to see is Tank versus Eno. Other than that, I don't really want to care about no big super fight no more.
Yeah, man. Listen, Noya Inui as well got a big win last week. Now Terrence Crawford. Those guys have to be 1 and 2 pound for pound now in the world. I think even Canelo against Charlo, that doesn't really interest me.
Yeah, Charlo over here getting pieced up by Caleb Plant though, so
that's crazy. I saw that video. That was nuts, man.
Get into UFC next week. UFC fight night. Sanhagen, Rob Font. Couple fights to look out for. We have Jessica Andrade versus Tatiana Suarez. So that does some movement in the strawweight division.
Tatiana's a minus 420 favorite, by the way. Big favorite.
I could see her being a favorite because I think she's superior on the ground. So she could use some grappling. And then Dustin Jacoby versus Kennedy. The Chinku kickboxing fight here.
I like Diego Lopez against Gavin Tucker, dude. That's a good one.
Yeah, Diego Lopez is a guy who had that short notice fight. He looked very impressive.
Bahamondes, our boy Bahamondes.
Yep, Bahamondes. He's fighting Klein. Damn.
Yes. It's gonna be a great fight.
I'm rocking with Ignacio, because I think he can be champ, but Klein's a tough guy to fight. So, and then Billy Q versus Damon Jackson. Similar guys right here. This will be a good fight.
We got Daniel Gracie guy and Jeremiah Wells against Carlston Harris. I always like watching Jeremiah Wells. Sean Woodson, the weirdest shaped fighter in history.
The whitest light skin I've ever seen in my life.
Bro, he looks like he was made in the lab, but like the lab lost power halfway through.
Why is Jake Hadley versus Cody Durden in the prelims? That should be like,
I don't know. That's a great fight. Kyler Phillips fighting again. That's going to be interesting. He got pieced up last fight.
Then I would talk about Odie Osborne fight, but fuck Odie Osborne. Follow this. Unfollow this. Fuck you, Odie Osborne. You suck. You get your ass beat.
Shout out to our Bosnians. We are friends of the Bosnians at this show. We love our Bosnians. Alexa Comor is fighting against
You like Bosnians. I don't like Bosnians. Those niggas got anger issues, bro. Like, I'm not Serbian, bro. You don't got to be mad at me. I'm not Serbian, bro.
No, listen, I love my Bosnians, man. As someone that had family went through communism, I love my Bosnians too. But this one, though, Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font. Devon, break it down for me. What do you think?
It's going to be a super technical striking match here. I don't see any zero grappling getting done in this fight. Zero at all, which is kind of weird because Corey is probably training to, do a little bit more grappling than he's normally used for. But, now he's probably a little bit more happy he gets the stand-up fight. But I think Rob Font is a tougher fight because I feel like he's a tougher fighter. Umar might have been better on the ground, but are you really going to get damaged too much, from fighting that guy? I feel like this is a lot higher chance of, you actually coming out hurt in the fight and you actually getting caught. Because I know, look at the last fight, he fought a guy like Adrian Yanez who looked like a world beater, looked like a knockout artist, and he destroyed him. So, Rob Font, see if he can come back with the resurgence. And if he wins this fight, he's right back in the conversation, right where he wants to be. So, and I think if Corey wins this fight, he's next. He's probably going to be Corey versus Sean O'Malley or Aljo next. So,
yeah.
But I don't know. If Rob wins this fight, I don't know if he gets the next title shot. I think it will probably be Henry Cejudo or something.
I think.
Or Merab.
Well, let's see. Well, Cheeto is on this card. Cheeto's on 292, which, by the way, something about 292 that I found interesting. Cody Garbrandt against Mario Bautista is on the main card, and it's ahead of Cheeto Vera. which makes no sense to me. But anyways, beside that point, that's just something interesting I thought of last night. But I like it. It's a catchweight fight. They're going to be at 140. They got a little bit more weight on them. And I think Corey Sandhagen, I think the advantage is definitely in his corner just because he's longer. I think he's longer. He's more diverse in his striking than Rob is. But Rob's boxing is no joke, right? I think this is going to be a war, 5-round war. I don't think there's going to be a knockout, but it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be one of the better fight night fights, main events that we'll see in a long time. I think the Dustin Jacoby, Kennedy, and Jeku fight's also going to be one that's going to be a needle mover, I think, at light heavyweight. I think Kennedy and Jeku is making a name at light heavyweight at a time where the division's kind of right now. So I'm interested to see that. Last night, the Bellator Rising card. I don't know if you saw any of that, but Kyoya Horiguchi's title fight got stopped 25 seconds into it for an eye poke. Patricky Pitbull got the win, knockout. It was honestly, and Danny Sabatello, one of the biggest Bellator names, got submitted by Magomed Magomedov. It was underwhelming. I think this was rushed, especially with the late replacement with Patricky coming in. I don't know, man. I think Bellator, all their big names are leaving now. I think Bellator is just kind of getting ready for the PFL takeover, right? Which is inevitable at this point. MVP still a free agent. Patricio Pitbull still a free agent now. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, we need to get MVP, bro. Oh God.
MVP would be amazing to have.
Who would you
The
have him fight,
September
bro?
16th Noche UFC card just got Daniel Rodriguez and Ponzinibbio added to it. That's going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah, so that's a really good fight. Yeah, that's a good fight for sure. Ponzinibbio coming off that Kevin Holland loss, see if he can bounce back. So I think that does it for episode 22 of Glove Talk. Follow us on IG at the Glove Talk Podcast. We're going to start doing some live tweeting and live threading during the fights. I'm going to try to push more clips. I know our software we use for the podcast now it does like this AI clips automator thing, and I was checking them out last week, so it makes like a whole bunch of clips automatically, and titles them and stuff, and they're better than the ones I was making. So we tried those out this week. So you guys support the page. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys next week after the Sandhagen versus Rob Font fight.
I would like to take this time to thank God that I didn't have to listen to Michael Bisping's voice on a broadcast. Thank you.